This is the Louie Tee Network.
I'm ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Overtime. So we head to overtime.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie Tee. Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Giants, Eagles, NFC East Family Business. You knew the Eagles were going to come out and play as if this were the Super Bowl because, in essence, it was their Super Bowl. They've got nothing to play for but pride. And if you get an opportunity to drag a family member down, if only for a week, you take that advantage and that opportunity and you do so. And the Eagles were able to do that tonight. For the Giants, disappointing end to this football game. No pass interference on one play. Eli has an opportunity to hit Odell Beckham for a touchdown. Again, it would have had to been a perfect throw, but it was an opportunity nonetheless. You throw the third interception of the game to find a way to seal it up for the Eagles, and you don't clinch a playoff berth. You no longer have an opportunity at the number one seed nor the NFC East crown. And you're probably still going to make the playoffs. We'll talk more about what this loss actually means for the Giants and what this means for the entire NFC playoff picture a little bit later on. But before we jump into anything, first and foremost, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. I want you to help us do that by simply subscribing to the channel. Also, I'm on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. And I'm also on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead and like the Facebook page. All of my social media platforms right there in the screen next to me so you can't miss them. So let's jump into this game and talk about how the Eagles were able to get a 24-19 victory over the New York Giants. They got off to a quick start, and we've seen another team with nothing to play for show up and play well and get a W. We saw it on Monday night with the Panthers and the Redskins. We see it again here. Another example of a team having pride, showing up, and getting it done. And the Eagles came out of the gates, guns a-blazing, 14 unanswered points to start this game. A nice early drive, Sproles with the touchdown run, and you see the difference that Lane Johnson makes right off the bat. Some big runs in this game for the Eagles, and again, most of them behind Lane Johnson. And we can't understate his impact on this football team. When he was in the lineup, they were winning football games. When they subtract him from the lineup and he has to serve that suspension, they struggled. And so it's no mystery here. Not to say that Lane Johnson is the end-all, be-all, but he's a huge difference maker along that offensive line. And they got off to a quick start. The pick six by safety who had a great night. Now, I've been talking about Malcolm Jenkins over the last couple of weeks and how big of a part he is of this Eagles secondary. Veteran leader, a guy that is very versatile and play the safety, can drop over the slot. Remember, this was a guy that was drafted out of Ohio State as a cornerback, was drafted by the Saints as a cornerback, made the switch to safety. This guy's been outstanding for the Eagles. One of the best free agent pickups they've had in quite some time in Philadelphia. And this guy had a huge night, 2 interceptions, including the big pick six early in the game to give the Eagles the 14-0 lead. So again, the Eagles got off to a fast start. And when you're a team that's 5-8 playing for pride against a team that's 10-4 looking to clinch a playoff berth, you need to get off to a fast start. And that's what the Eagles did in this game. Got a little bit of running game going. And again, you don't want to ask, and I've talked about this over the last month or so. The Eagles have asked more of Carson Wentz to a detriment. Again, they don't have a lot around him. We've talked about that all season long. And now we've seen the Eagles ask Wentz to throw it 42, 52, even 60 times versus Cincinnati a few weeks ago. That's too many times for this guy to be throwing the football. The more he throws it, the more likely it is they're going to lose the football game. The more likely it is he's going to have some turnovers. And that's what happens when you get behind. Now you have to throw the football. There's no balance. Teams can come after you. Young quarterback, you make mistakes. You see where this is going. They ran the football. They got, first thing first, you get out to the early lead. That takes the pressure off of your quarterback now. He doesn't have to throw the football as many times. You can stay balanced. You don't have to ask him to do things that he's not comfortable doing, which throwing it 50 times as a rookie, never a smart idea, never a good idea for a football team. And so they were able to keep him in that great distance there, that money range of about 20 to 30 to 33 passes attempts or so in a ball game. That's where you want to keep a rookie. In all actuality, in a perfect world, you'd have a rookie throw it less than 30 times a ball game. But they haven't had that opportunity with the Eagles. But getting out to that 14-0 lead afforded them the opportunity to be able to run it, to stay balanced, to not have to throw it as many times. And that proved to be a big difference in this ball game as well. So the Eagles defensively, that 14-point lead, and I think Chris Collinsworth did a great job of illustrating this throughout the telecast, it allowed them to not have to be aggressive on defense. They didn't have to come with a bunch of blitzes. They didn't have to leave their corners out on an island. They were able to basically play that cover 2 shell. And again, against a Giants team that doesn't scare anybody running the football, you feel comfortable staying in a cover 2 shell. You feel comfortable not bringing that extra safety and defender in the box and saying, look, we can stop their run with 7 guys because they don't run it that well. So there are a number of circumstances and extenuating factors as to why the Eagles were able to come through with this victory. But another big one was their ability to keep the Giants out of the end zone. The Giants got down the field quite a bit in this game, but had to settle for field goals. 4, in fact. When the game was done, Robbie Gould had kicked another 4 field goals, and that's been a problem for the Giants this season. We've talked about how good this defense has been, but we haven't talked about how bad the offense has been, really, because of how good the defense has been. And when the defense doesn't go out and shut teams down, and you're losing all these players, no Janoris Jenkins, you lose Snacks Harrison in the game at one point. Eli Apple goes down, but he comes back. So you got all these moving parts out there. You're not exactly the same defense. Then Eli throws a pick 6 to make matters worse. And all of a sudden now you're not holding a team to 10 or 7 or 13 this week like you've done in the past weeks. You actually got to go out and score points, which this Giants offense hasn't done. And so give credit to the Eagles for forcing the issue, pushing the envelope, and making the Giants have to do something they haven't done well over the last month of the season. And that's score points. In this league, you got to be able to score to win. And the Giants haven't really done that over the last month because the defense has allowed them to not have to score a ton of points to win. Well, it caught up with them tonight with some early mistakes that cost them in this game. Eli Manning with 3 interceptions in this game. I've talked about Eli Manning. I don't trust Eli. I actually had a Giants fan come after me a week ago saying, how could I not trust Eli Manning, and that was crazy talking. I'm just saying, look, Eli Manning is a solid quarterback. I respect his body of work, but at the end of the day, I don't trust Eli Manning like I used to. I used to trust Eli with the game on the line. I used to say, outside of Joe Flacco with the game on the line, give me Eli Manning. I don't feel that way anymore. And here was an opportunity for Eli to make a play. Odell Beckham on the deep post. 3 Eagle defenders. Odell's got enough space if he can fit the football in there. It's a touchdown, and Eli overshoots him, and then he throws his 3rd interception of the game on the very next play. And so I don't feel like Eli Manning is that guy any longer that I trust at the end of a game. Look, you can forget about what he's done for the first 58 minutes of the game, last 2 minutes of the game. I don't trust him like I used to when I used to feel like, well, look, forget about what he's done the first 58 minutes, okay? Wipe that from the memory bank. You give this guy the football with less than 2, and he's going to do you. That wasn't the case in this game, and it hasn't been for quite some time. I don't think Eli Manning is that guy anymore, and like I said, I don't trust Eli Manning to be able to take a team to a Super Bowl, but we'll see what happens. This defense is still good in New York. Little bit of a hiccup, and let's face it, if you know NFC East football, then you know the Eagles own the Giants. That game earlier in the season, the Eagles almost stole that one in the Meadowlands. And that was just one of those byproducts of a young quarterback not knowing how to win. A couple of rolls of the dice by a rookie head coach in Doug Peterson, when I thought they should have elected to go for the points. They instead went for 4th down conversions, and they didn't convert. And so it's a situation where the Eagles always beat the Giants. They own the Giants. Eli struggled with them throughout his career. The one team in the division Eli's had the most problems with throughout his career is this Philadelphia Eagles football team, and it showed itself again tonight. Eagles get it done. The defense played well, generated turnovers, got away with a little bit of physical play, but they got it done in this game. Did the Eagles 24-19. Let's look at it from the Giants' perspective. Look, bottom line, I was impressed with the fact that they, once again, ran the football effectively, did the Giants in this game. That's something that I think can help them moving forward. You should also be encouraged that the defense is still playing well despite having some guys go down throughout the course of the game, and not having Janoris Jenkins in the lineup does change and alter what you want to do defensively. But at the same time, you still need to be worried about this offense. They're not generating enough points. They're settling for too many field goals. Robbie Gould had a 27, a 35, and a 35-yard field goal. Do you understand how close you have to be to kick that kind of field goal? To kick a 35-yard field goal, you're at the 17-yard line. To kick a 27-yard field goal, you're at the 9-yard line. You got to find ways to get into the end zone if you're the Giants. Settling for too many field goals, you're not going to win like that come this time of the season. You're going to have to find ways to convert some of these field goal attempts into touchdowns if you want to make it to the playoffs first, and I think they're going to make it when it's all said and done. And if you want to advance in the playoffs on the road, which is what the Giants are going to have to do now that they lost this football game, they're not going to have a chance to win the division. They're going to have to be road warriors. You're going to have to score more than 13. You're going to have to score more than 10. You're going to have to score more than the 19 that you put up tonight, because as you saw in this game, it's not always going to be enough. You're going to have to find ways to score more points, generate more offense. And by the way, Eli Manning can't throw pick sixes because, again, this offense isn't putting up enough points. They're not producing enough to be giving away points to the opposition and making it tougher on a Giants defense that's already doing more than they should have to do on a week in, week out basis. So I thought the running game was impressive. I thought the defense, once again, was impressive because if you look at it, you take away the pick six, this defense only gave up 17. That would have been good enough to win tonight if you don't give that up. So, again, defense played well. Running game was, again, I thought a plus for them. There was a situation where they were backed up on their own 1-yard line after getting a key third down and a fourth down stop at the goal line. Ryan Matthews denied, not able to get in. And so they had an opportunity, did the Eagles, to stop them down there, and the Giants ran the football from the shadow of their own goal line and gave their special teams unit a chance to punt with a little bit of space because their ability to run the football, or actually I don't think they actually punted on that. I think Eli throws the pick to the Eagles, the second one of the game from Malcolm Jenkins, I believe is what happened on that possession. But in any event, they ran the football out of the shadow of their own goal line, and that was impressive. This Giants team of 2 months ago wouldn't have been able to do that. A month and a half ago would not have been able to do that. And having Justin Pugh back in there does help their running game as well. So just too many mistakes on the night for the Giants. If you got a 4th and inches situation, you false start, have to go for it on 4th and 5 and don't complete the pass. Was that pass interference? You damn right it was, but did they call it? No, they did not. So, again, number of opportunities in this game for the Giants, and they just didn't take advantage of all the opportunities that they had, and they lose this game. So what does this actually mean for the Giants? Okay, so you don't clinch a playoff berth tonight. You're still 10-5. You're still ahead of numerous teams in the NFC looking to get in. Bottom line is, everyone would have to win out essentially, and you would have to lose your final game of the season versus the Redskins to not get in the playoffs. It's rare. It's highly unlikely that the Giants don't get in the playoffs. In order for that to happen, the Lions would have to beat the Cowboys, so that would put them at 10-5 on the season. The Packers would then have to win out, and even then, because if the Packers went out and they beat the Lions in weeks 17, and the Giants, let's say the Giants lose in week 17 to the Redskins and they finish at 10-6, they own the tiebreaker over the Lions. They beat them head to head, so they'd still get in over the Lions. The Buccaneers would have to then win out. They would have to get to 10-6. I don't know the tiebreaker situation there, but again, you're asking for a lot to take place for this Giants team not to get in. I foresee the Giants getting in the playoffs. And it's probably going to happen this week with someone losing, like the Buccaneers taking an L. The Packers could lose to the Vikings. Any of those things take place, and the Giants still get in to the playoffs regardless. So bottom line for me, Giants are still going to get in. I don't think this is a detrimental loss to them and their playoff hopes. I think this was a huge loss in the fact that you don't have an opportunity to win the NFC East. You work hard to beat Dallas twice, to put yourself in a position to where maybe you could steal this division away from them. They had some tough games coming up. This same Eagles team in Philadelphia could have been a tough challenge for the Cowboys week 17. Next week against the Detroit Lions on Monday night, that could have been a game that the Cowboys could have lost. You never know. You would have loved to have given yourself a chance. Instead, you allow the Cowboys to simply not have to go out and win in Week 16. They have already clinched the NFC East and the number one seed in the NFC playoffs with this loss. So that's disappointing if you're the Giants. But bottom line, you're going to get in the playoffs, and you deserve to get in. You've played well enough. You've won 10 games this season, and I think the Giants are going to get in. The biggest winner tonight was the Dallas Cowboys. By far and away the biggest winner. They have clinched the NFC East. They have clinched the number one seed in the NFC. They've clinched the first round bye, and they now have the ability to control what goes down in the NFC in Big D. All roads to the Super Bowl in the NFC go through Dallas now with this loss by the Giants. The second biggest winner of the night, the Detroit Lions. Because now the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football have absolutely no incentive to play all of their starters. If a guy's a little nicked, no reason for him to play. If they want to give some of their young players some experience, here's an opportunity. You may see a half of Dak Prescott. We may see Tony Romo in this game. You know what? I'm not going to say we may. We're going to see Tony Romo. He may even start this game. They may sit Dak Prescott in this game. Who knows? I fully expect Dak to play at least a half of football. But again, they have no incentive to win that football game, nor do they care about the outcome of that game because it does not matter now. We'll see what the Cowboys do and how they approach. I know Jason Garrett a couple of years ago when the Cowboys had already clinched, still played the Redskins straight up and bust the Redskins up in Week 17. This is a Week 16 game, so I still expect Jason Garrett and company to approach this as if the Cowboys need it. But again, they don't, and don't think for 1 second these players aren't aware of that. So I think the Lions have a great shot. I mean, if the Cowboys needed that game, I really think the Lions lose that football game. Now, all of a sudden, Cowboys don't need it. Who's to say that they don't get a lackluster or a less than 100% effort from the Cowboys now, and they're able to go into Dallas and win? If you're a team like the Cowboys, you don't want to lose momentum at the end of the season, but you don't want guys getting injured either. So it's the fine line you walk there. I think the Lions, they also won tonight with this loss by the Giants. So let's get into your comments and talk about this game and the outcome and all of the things that transpire because of this loss. We start with Vincent Coe, who says, is Lane Johnson back one of the main reasons the Eagles won tonight? It's one of the reasons. I won't say one of the main reasons, but it's a huge reason because we don't know what the outcome of the game would have been without him in the lineup. We do know this. He's 10 times better than anybody the Eagles could have put out there. If he's not out there, and let's just say there's a backup or a third string tackle out there like we've seen throughout the course of this 10-game suspension, who's to say that the Giants don't have a party over there at right tackle? Who's to say that they don't have to keep an extra eligible in to block to keep that right tackle from being abused in this game? Who's to say that they have any success running the football tonight without Lane Johnson in there? We know what we've seen throughout the season without him. To have him back was a huge boost to this Eagles offense. So I would say he was definitely one of the reasons they were able to get the win tonight. Sean Mack says, the more I watch the Eagles, the more they really, really need a running back. A run game would take so much pressure off of that defense. And Wentz, your thoughts? It's funny because they actually don't have a bad running back situation. It's not great. It's not ideal, but Ryan Matthews isn't that bad. When he's not hurt, when he's not fumbling, he's actually a quality NFL back. That being said, Darren Sproles is a nice change of pace. They actually don't have a bad backfield. The problem is they don't have a guy that scares you, that puts fear into your heart. They don't have a guy that is a game changer. They don't have a difference maker at the running back position. Darren Sproles is definitely that guy when he touches it, but again, he's not someone you want to hand it off to 20 times in a game and have him catch it 4 or 5 more times out of the backfield and have him catch punts also. So you don't have a bell cow. You don't have an Ezekiel Elliott type. But then again, how many teams actually do? There are not many around this league that have that kind of a impact player at running back. But I think this Eagles team, if they didn't go out and do anything at the running back position, they wouldn't be that bad off. I think they need to upgrade the receiver position more so than the running back position. The receiver position is a mess for them right now. They don't have an alpha male there. They don't have a guy that scares you. You could just play the Eagles with any kind of coverage that you like, really, off on the defensive side of the football, because you don't fear any of their targets at receiver. I think that's the first place that they need to upgrade. If you're not talking offensive line upgrades, you're talking wide receiver upgrades for that Eagles offense. HBF Calcium says, yo, what up, Lou? What's good with you, man? Enrique Valencia says, OBJ deserves a better quarterback. Can't wait until he becomes a free agent and signs with the Colts so he can play with a real QB. The Giants aren't letting that guy go anywhere. For all of his theatrics and antics, he's still the most dynamic player in this league. And I remember about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, someone asked me, who are the 3 most entertaining must-see players in the league? And I said at the top of my list is Odell Beckham Jr. Every time he touches it, it's a spectacle, man. This guy can take a 5-yard slant and turn it into an 85-yard slant. This guy can take a simple crossing drag route underneath, a shallow drag, a shallow crosser, and pick up 40 like he did tonight. I mean, he just takes the littlest pass, the smallest completion, and turns it into a huge gain. This guy's dynamic, and when they put him back on punts, he's just as dangerous and spooky back there as he is at receiver. There's no way the Giants are letting this guy walk. So you can go ahead and put that to rest right now. Corey Fitterman says, what's good, family? Now that the Giants lost, what does this mean for the Redskins as far as the playoffs? Nothing, because the Redskins can't get to 10 wins on the season. So doesn't mean a dang on thing for the Redskins. They had all the opportunities in the world to make this mean something, and they blew it on Monday night when they lost to the Panthers. The best the Redskins can do is 9-6-1. Guess what? The Giants are already at 10 wins. So this does nothing for the Redskins. If anything, this loss hurts the Redskins because now the Cowboys don't have any incentive to play on Monday, which the Redskins needed the Lions to lose out. They still may lose that Cowboys game, but it's more likely that they win this game now that the Cowboys have nothing to play for. So in actuality, this loss by the Giants hurts the Redskins more than it actually helps the Redskins. Anthony Hibbert says the following: how about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? Yeah! Says Anthony Hibbert. NFC East champs and home field advantage throughout the NFC. That is big time for the Dallas Cowboys, and they've earned it. They've played outstanding football, 11-game winning streak, have been one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league for the majority of the season. They earned it, and they got it. They are now the number 1 seed in the NFC and NFC East division champions. Disco Jump Rope says, looks like Eli is going back to his old self, throwing 2 picks a game. I told you I don't trust Eli Manning. I said this a few weeks ago, and even though they were winning games, I said, look, I don't trust Eli Manning. It's really simple. This defense is carrying the Giants football team, but I don't trust Eli. And if the defense ever has a slip up, and I don't consider tonight a slip up, Eli threw a pick 6. Like I said, you take that pick 6 off the scoreboard, it's 19-17 Giants win. And, you know, the game and the way that it ended up would have changed drastically if that pick 6 never happened. The Eagles would have approached the game differently, but it doesn't matter. Bottom line is you give up 7 points on the offensive side of the football without the defense having any say-so in the matter. We saw the Giants defense step up inside the 2-yard line and get a stop. Who's to say if they don't stop Malcolm Jenkins on that pick 6, or if Eli doesn't throw it, that they get another touchdown? So bottom line is Eli Manning right now is a hindrance to this Giants football team, not a help. And even though he threw it 63 times on the night tonight, 3 interceptions with those 63 tosses for Eli. It's not a good look for them right now offensively. They've been struggling this season, and it showed again tonight. And Eli Manning, again, as the quarterback, You shoulder the blame when your team struggles on the offensive side of the football. Just like when you win, you get the credit. Eli Manning struggled again tonight. The Giants lose this time. They don't win 10-7. They don't win this game, scoring 13. They lose this football game. And so now you have to focus on this offense because they need to play better. And they haven't played well, really. It's been defense, hold the other team down. Eli, get one pass to Odell Beckham and watch out. Let him do the rest. Well, that didn't happen in this game, and the Giants don't get it done. Chris Deaver says, hashtag we them boys, playoffs, hashtag #1 seed. Amen to that, man. You guys earned it this year. The Dallas Cowboys went out and did their thing. Let's see now. We've seen the Cowboys do this before. Okay, 2014, DeMarco Murray leads the NFL in rushing with over 1,800 yards. Cowboys #1 seed. Cowboys don't get it done in the playoffs. We've seen the Cowboys do this before. Hell, 2007, Cowboys dominant, win the NFC East. Giants go into Big D in the divisional round of the playoffs and beat the Dallas Cowboys in their first game. So we've seen the Cowboys do this before. Okay, Dallas wasn't the #1 seed though in 2014. I rescind that comment because they were the number 4 seed that year, 3 or 4, because they had to go to Green Bay in the second round of the playoffs. They beat Detroit in the first round, lost to Green Bay, so they were probably your 3rd seed that year. Either way, we've seen the Cowboys dominate before. Like I said, 2007, they dominated that season, and the Giants went into Big D and beat them. Could that happen again? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. This is a different Cowboys team, though, and they're playing some outstanding football this season. Cruising 26 says the following. That was the worst roughing the passer call of the year. I agree. That roughing the passer on Olivier Vernon I thought was hogwash. He was already on Carson Wentz as he was throwing the football. They had another one when he was sliding that I thought was a little ticky-tack, but the one that really did it for me was the Olivier Vernon one because that led to a touchdown. The roughing on the slide led to a 40-yard touchdown, I believe, on the next play. So both of those roughing the passers were huge penalties in this game. But that one on Olivier Vernon I thought was garbage because not only were the Eagles not in field goal range, that was 3rd down. They were going to have to punt, and instead they end up getting in the end zone there. That was a huge, huge call, huge turn of events, and I didn't think that was a roughing the passer call at all. So didn't agree with that at all. Jake Butler says, happy holidays, Lou. Great Thursday night game tonight. How does this affect the NFC playoff picture, especially the wild card position? So I basically gave you a little setup there. We can get into a little bit more depth, though. I talked about what this means for the Redskins. It actually hurts the Redskins, helps the Detroit Lions in my mind because now Cowboys have nothing to play for on Monday night. We'll see how they decide to handle it. Like I said, if you look at Jason Garrett's past when they've been in situations like this, they still went out and played to win. So we'll see what happens. But again, they don't want to lose anybody to injury either, so they're going to play it a little cautious, I think, in Dallas. Most guys will play. How long will they play? We don't know. How hard they will play, you can never know. But these guys know that they've already clinched, so we'll see what happens in that game. But this helps the Detroit Lions for sure because they're going to have a much better shot at winning this game knowing that the Cowboys don't need it. As for every other team in the NFC playoff picture, nothing has really changed. If you're the Bucs, you wanted to win out before this game. You want to win out even more so now because you have a shot at getting in at 10-6. But nobody is really worried about anyone else. At this point in the season, if you're trying to get in, you're looking to just win, okay? You're looking to win. And like I said, Giants were already at 10 wins going into this game. So the teams on the outside looking in, your teams like Tampa and Washington and all those teams looking to try to get in, those are teams that they can't, in the Redskins case, they can't get to 10 wins. So this doesn't impact the Redskins at all. The Giants are going to finish with a better record than the Redskins, regardless of what happens in that Week 17 matchup. As for the Buccaneers, again, the Buccaneers have a shot at 8-6. If they win out, they've got a shot at 10-6. We'll see how the tiebreakers shake out, but they'll have a legitimate shot of getting in if they can get to 10-6. The Packers, same deal. You know what I mean? Right now, they're in as your 6th seed. They just are looking to win. Simple as that. They're trying to win their division. So this game really doesn't have a huge impact on the NFC playoff picture from a wild card standpoint, because the Giants were so far ahead of all the other teams looking to get in. The Packers, who are your 6th seed, they're still at 8 wins. The Bucks are still at 8 wins. The Redskins are at 7 wins. The Vikings are at 7 wins. There's no one threatening the Giants to take their spot away right now. The biggest deal was, could they still get their hands on the NFC East? The answer is no. Could they have still gotten their hands on the number 1 seed? Yes, they could have. Now the answer is no. So you're stuck as a wild card. You can't win a division. You can't advance up to the 2 or the 3 or the 4 seed. You're now a 5 seed, possibly a 6 seed, depending on what you do next week at 10-5. But as far as the NFC playoff picture is concerned, nothing really changed in the picture with this loss. The Giants are still your 5 seed. Packers are still your 6 seed. Falcons are still your 3 seed. Saints or Seahawks are still your 2 seed. Cowboys have clinched the number 1 seed. That's the biggest thing that happened. But they were already your number 1 seed. All they did was clinch and solidify that. No one's changed positions. Nothing's changed on the outside looking in. It's pretty much status quo with this loss. The only team affected by this was the Giants, really, because the Cowboys, had they won on Monday, they would have achieved the same goal. The only thing is now they didn't have to win to do it. They just got it because of a loss. But had the Cowboys won on Monday, regardless of the Giants winning this game, same thing would have applied. They would have basically had everything sewn up because the Giants would not have been able to catch them with a 2-game cushion and only 1 game remaining. So nothing really changed here. The Giants just didn't make the playoffs. That's basically what happened here. Sherlock Homeboy says, what does this mean for the NFC Championship? I don't see the Giants making it, nor the Cowboys. Well, it doesn't mean anything for that right now. All it does mean this: if the Cowboys advance in the divisional round after the bye, it means the NFC Championship game is in Dallas. So that we do know, if the Cowboys are able to navigate their way through the divisional round, whomever they play, they're going to have that home playoff game in the NFC Championship game. Like I said, all roads go through Big D if the Cowboys are able to take care of business come playoffs time. DG Production says, Eli always looks like he has blue balls shaking my head. Eli Manning is the king of the stoic face. You won't find a guy with a more of a stone face than Eli Manning, whether he's doing something good or not. Eli Manning usually doesn't show much emotion, although I think sometimes that gets overblown, because when he throws a touchdown or a touchdown in a big spot, you'll get Eli getting fired up. So I don't know if I always subscribe to that, but Eli is a guy that will give you that stoic face. Argenis Luguardo says, man, this offensive line of ours is making me go crazy. Eli and his overthrows and the underthrows. Man, if only Jack Rabbit was playing. Good game, Eagles. It's tough because you saw Eli Manning struggling in the pocket sometimes. Bobby Hart was struggling over there. They were putting a tight end on Graham sometimes, and Brandon Graham was just annihilating them, whether it was a tight end or it was Bobby Hart. They were getting some work over there at the right tackle position on that right side with Brandon Graham. He was collapsing the pocket, pushing them into Eli. The offensive line for the Giants has always been a source of frustration, and it was a little bit of that tonight as well in certain instances. And then, of course, the false start penalty. That was a huge play. We don't know if they would have converted 4th and inches or not. Would have loved to have seen them have the opportunity, but that was taken away with the false start penalty on that key 4th down at the end of the game. Was that pass interference? Let's talk about that for a second. You damn right that was pass interference. The Eagles got away with one. There was an arm bar there. There was a grab and a tug at the top and the stem of the route. Nolan Carroll got away with what I would consider a borderline felony there, okay? That was harassment. That was a number of different things. Like I said, I've seen guys be put in jail for what he did, okay? That was groping. That was assault. That was assault. And like I said, I've seen guys put away for a little while on an assault charge there. And that was damn near felonious. I don't know quite if that was a felony or not. I don't know if I would go that far, but that was definitely a misdemeanor assault, and he should have been charged. But he got away with one. Vincent Cole says, critical moment. who would you choose as your quarterback, Eli or Russell Wilson? I would take Russell Wilson just for his ability to create with his legs. If nothing's there, he can. You saw the play Wentz made tonight. That's a key example of why you take a mobile quarterback. Wentz he looks like he's going to get sacked, dead to right. There's two Giants coming, one from each side. There's no way out of this thing. He's getting sacked, and he ducks down underneath, avoids the sack, steps up, runs, picks up like 8 yards, slides, and it's just an incredible play. I think he picked up more like 11 on that play and got the first down. They tried to say he fumbled at first, but then they realized he slid, so he was down and gave himself up. That's tremendous. That's a special play by a special player. You don't get that from an Eli Manning. Once you get back there, Eli's going down. And with Russell Wilson, you can get that extension of the play. And, outside of the 5 interception game Russell Wilson had against the Green Bay Packers, he didn't throw many picks. He takes care of the football for the most part. So I'd take Russell Wilson despite the interception at the goal line in the Super Bowl. I'm taking Russell Wilson in a critical moment in a football game. Anthony Hibbert says, who would have thought the Cowboys would have the number one rush offense and defense in the league? Hashtag Super Bowl bound. That's the number one rush defense stuff, if that is in fact true. I don't know how true it is, but that's misleading. Here's why. Against the Cowboys, a lot of times you're trailing. A lot of times they eating up a lot of the time on the clock, time of possession. And so you're not looking to run the football. You're looking to throw the football versus the Cowboys. Now, I will say this. Cowboys play some really good run defense. I've actually been really impressed with their rush defense this season because even when you try to make a concerted effort to run the football versus the Cowboys, you're usually not successful. They do a really good job. Sean Lee heading that front seven. They do a great job of flowing to the football, getting hats, which is a staple of a Dallas Cowboys defense with their defensive coordinator, who is just great at getting guys motivated and getting them to get to the football. So the Cowboys defense, we've been talking about how this Cowboys defense is going to be the weak link of the football team. Well, they've been stepping up. You say what you want about the Cowboys, and they don't have a lot of household names on their defense, but they play ball. They play football, and Rod Marinelli gets those boys to play. And I'm going to tell you right now, the Cowboys defense is underrated. We talk so much about their offense and how good they are, but their offense had been struggling over the last couple of weeks, and they were still finding ways to win because of that defense, and they haven't been getting enough credit. So we'll see if the Cowboys are, in fact, Super Bowl bound. We will see. Sherlock Homeboy says, my Hawks are in the best position while these teams getting exposed. We will see. The Hawks have their own issues to deal with as well. DG Production says, I don't trust Eli either. He only smiles after a Super Bowl or if Katy Perry is licking pickle juice off her nip. Okay. I don't know where that one came from, but I got you. I hear you. DG Production says, sorry, Lou, I just wanted to get a reaction out of you. LOL. You got me. I was like, oh, okay. Where did that one come from? Okay, you got me. RG3, hashtag smoking at 3, hashtag 1000 says, the highest the Redskins can go is 9-6-1, and the Giants already got 10 wins, which is what I said already. So this doesn't impact the Redskins in any way, shape, or form. Redskins blew every opportunity they had to really make a statement with that loss on Monday night. DG Productions also says, if the Giants play the Falcons in the playoffs, who do you got? It's hard to say right now because between now and then, a number of things can transpire. Injuries can have a huge impact on the outcome of, a decision. Julio Jones is just coming back. How good is he? Does he re-injure something? Does he hurt something else? You don't really know right now. What's the state of Janoris Jenkins for the Giants defense? Is he going to be back? When is he going to be back? Again, these are all questions I don't know the answer to. Hard for me to pick a winner right now. But if those two teams played, right now, I would lean towards the Falcons just because I know the Falcons can score and the Giants have trouble scoring. And so even though the Falcons don't play the greatest of defense, the way that the Giants struggle to score, they're going to help the Falcons defense stay afloat while that offense, and we know the Giants defense is good, that Falcons offense will push the Giants defense to the limits, and then they'll be at home as well. So that gives them a little bit of an advantage. I'd be a little bit leaning towards the Falcons in that game. But again, anything could happen. Izzy L says, Cowboys win the NFC East. Indeed, they do. Anthony Hibbert says, damn right. Enrique Valencia says, what is your takeaway on Carson Bortles? Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Performance tonight. I thought he was below average and should have thrown 2 interceptions. They won the game, man, which is more than your boy Blake Bortles can say when he has a performance like this. Look, Wentz does a great job of using his legs to create when nothing's there. I think he does a really good job of playing with limited weapons around him. If he had the kind of weapons Blake Bortles has around him in Jacksonville, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So stop your nonsense, Enrique, okay? Leave this man alone. He's a rookie, and he's playing well with not a lot of help and talent around him. Cut him some slack and stop calling him Carson Bortles, please, okay? DG Production says, if he is related to Blake Bortles, bench him, LOL. He's not. Stop it. T. Little says, Giants have to play Cowboys again. Who you got? I'm taking the Cowboys. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. But I'm taking the Giants. Excuse me. I think I just said the Cowboys. I'm taking the Giants. I really think that the Giants have the Cowboys number. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And the Cowboys know. Look, a play here, a play there. We beat the Giants both times in both of those games. So it's not like the Giants dominated the Cowboys twice. They barely eked out victories, but they won nonetheless. So they have confidence that they can beat the Cowboys. But just know this. This next time they play, it's going to be in Dallas again. And this isn't week 1 Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. This is a different group. Now, I will say this too, in the same breath. It's playoff football, and that's a totally different animal. So, again, you don't know. The circumstances are going to be different. It's a different environment. It's a different level of intensity. You don't know what Cowboys team is going to show because they haven't been here before. So, be interested to see what happens. T. Littles also says, am I the only one who picked Philadelphia? No, you're not, but I tell you what, not many have probably picked Philadelphia to win this game. So that's a great start if you pick Philadelphia. I know my man Sean Mack picked Philly as well because he kept saying it on Twitter. Get me a win, Philly. Start me off right. So that's a big win for you guys looking to do it up big this week in the Pick'ems. T. Littles also said, will Zeke get the rookie rushing record? No, I don't think so. Especially with them having clinched now, if the Cowboys are smart, they're going to dial back his touches and his carries. He's already touched it a ton of times this year, and I think they're very wary of the fact that he's got the most carries in the league this season. They're going to dial him back. They need him fresh for this postseason stretch. They don't need him worn down. Remember, this isn't college football, and so these guys aren't used to playing 16 games. This is right around where their season would be done. They're still playing football. So the Cowboys are going to be very smart with him down the stretch. Don't see him breaking any rookie rushing records. Sean Mack says, that's my point, bro. Matthews is hurt a lot. Sproles is a third down back at best. Even in a quarterback league, running game and defense wins championships. Receivers in need as well, too, bro. Oh, I agree with you. They don't have a bell cow at running back. The Eagles could use an upgrade there, but if they didn't touch the running back position and they aggressively went after the line and the receiver positions, I think that would be the better play, versus going after the running back position and not addressing the receiver or offensive line the way that they need to in the offseason. So I get where you're coming from, but you can say that about a lot of teams who don't really have a dominant back, a guy that you can turn around and hand it to 23 times in a game and consistently do that. I think the Eagles could use an upgrade at running back, but I think receiver and offensive line might be bigger issues for them. T. Little says, will the Giants clinch a playoff spot this week even after the loss? They could potentially do that. Like I said, a Bucs loss, I think would probably do it for them because the Vikings can't get to 10. The Redskins can't get to 10. The only team on the outside looking in with a chance to get to 10 still would be the Buccaneers. A loss by the Bucs, and they could not get to 10. So that would mean that they would be in the playoffs at that point. So, yes, the Giants can still clinch a playoff berth with a loss this week by the Buccaneers on the road at New Orleans. So we'll see how that goes this week. Sean Mack says the women's hygiene company always needs to give OBJ a lifetime supply of maxi pads for his crybaby ass. LOL. The dude is constantly nagging and drama, but he's so good. He's so good. The Giants are going to be willing to put up with his shenanigans because he's so good. You would take him on your team in a heartbeat too, wouldn't you, Sean Mack? RN for life. Or RN4L. How about them Raiders clinching a playoff berth? Indeed. Raiders are in. Genis Luguardo. And if you're out there and you want your comment read, make sure you use the hashtag Louie Tee Live. Our Genis Luguardo says, I noticed that every time Eli throws double-digit INTs the next season, he has a remarkable season. Is this a sign, Lou? Could be. I've noticed that too, that normally when we start to question Eli, we do this all the time. It's been back and forth with him throughout his career where we question him one season because he's got 17 interceptions, or even that one year where he was up in the 20s with interceptions and he comes back and has an outstanding season and you're like, oh, here comes Eli Manning again. And after Ben McAdoo got his hands on him last year, Eli had a magnificent season last year. I remember he started out the year with like 8 touchdowns, no interceptions, which was wild because we know Eli is a guy that always turns it over. So to see him not turning it over last year was amazing. And then to come back this year and to see him starting to do it again, turning it over, it's frustrating, but that's been the carousel of Eli Manning throughout his career. One year he's up, the next year he's down, and that's why I look at Eli Manning and I say, if he didn't win the Super Bowls, he probably wouldn't be a Hall of Fame quarterback. I seriously think that his last name and the 2 Super Bowls are going to get him in, but if you look at his numbers, and I know people are going to throw passing numbers out there, you know, in terms of yards and all of that stuff, but the interceptions are ridiculous. And I know Brett Favre threw a ton of interceptions as well, so maybe that's not the barometer for, you know, success and greatness at the quarterback position. Eli's done it well throughout his career, so I don't want to kill the guy, but he's so inconsistent. That's my biggest knock on Eli Manning. In any event, T. Little says, was that pass interference on Shepard? I've already answered that. Yes, it was. JP Lavecchio says, impressed by your previous saying that the Giants weren't good enough. Impressed by your previous saying the Giants weren't a good playoff team because they mostly have talent, mostly from free agent. Do they have a good future? Yeah, they have. Absolutely. I don't even. I don't know. I'm trying to kind of put together your statement here. I'm trying to make sense of it. But yes, this team has a bright future. I think they have a few deficiencies on offense. Obviously, the offensive line needs to improve. We've been saying that for at least the last 2-3 years, but they need to upgrade the offensive line. I was never an Eric Flowers guy. I'm still not. But that being said, I think they could upgrade the running back position. I think they could upgrade the tight end position. Maybe, maybe not. Victor Cruz, this could be his last year in New York. We've been hearing that. Probably going to need another receiver if that's the case. Bottom line is the defense is legit and they're young. Olivier Vernon going into the prime of his career. Damon Harrison going into the prime of his career. Eli Apple, rookie. You've got a safety in Landon Collins that still hasn't hit the prime of his career yet. This is a young nucleus in New York. You're talking about Janoris Jenkins, prime of his career. DRC is a guy that's probably at the prime, maybe going into the twilight years, but still a really good football player in New York. This is a really talented. You need an upgrade at the linebacker position. You get a playmaker at linebacker, and all of a sudden, this defense is one of the best in the league for the next 2 to 3 seasons. You're going to be able to compete with the Cowboys and that offensive juggernaut that they're building over there because your defense is in a position right now with all this young talent to really be a formidable team in the division for years to come. Now, the question is, how much does Eli have in the tank, and how much can you get out of this offense that is struggling right now for the New York Giants? But I think there is talent and there's a future in New York that is bright. Absolutely. But it all depends on Eli Manning and his ability to help this team along. Anthony Hibbert says, Cowboys, since Romo became the starter, never had a defense this good. And that's not saying much, but we can only get better. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with We'll see what happens with this Cowboys defense. JP Lavecchio says, I used to work at a sports bar and got respect for you when I started reiterating everything you said and was right. LOL. Good luck. Well, I'm glad I can help, man. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to enlighten, enrich, and entertain. The 3 E's, man, up here on YouTube. That any sports analyst, any sports talker, you know what I mean? What we do as fans, that's what you should be up here to do. The 3 E's, I call it. Enlighten, enrich, and most importantly, entertain. And I'm glad I was able to enlighten and enrich your football knowledge. That's what I aim to do each and every time I set foot in front of these cameras. British Alexander says, my dumb brother thinks Eli is a Hall of Famer. I'm inclined that you'd agree that he is barely that. Yeah, he's going to get in, but you know how I feel about Eli. I've already said it, that I don't think that Eli Manning should be a lock Hall of Famer, but he is. He's won 2 Super Bowls. His last name is Manning, and it's the way he's won those Super Bowls. He beats an undefeated Patriots football team in 2007. He has the crazy Tyree play in that game. He beats the Patriots again with a crazy throw on the sidelines to I forgot his name, number 82. That receiver that used to play for the Giants. I can't remember his name, but I can see his face. It's crazy. But on the sidelines, on that play, made some clutch throws. He's going to get in the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. But again, like you said, barely. His career has been so up and down, but those two Super Bowls, they count for a lot. T. Little says, do you think Sean Lee is a guaranteed snub? Yeah, they don't give Sean Lee the type of respect that he should get, man. That guy's arguably one of the best linebackers in the league. He should be getting a lot more respect than he does. Bro, you know you look exactly like Evan Turner. I've heard that so many times to the point now where I'm like, hey, look, man, just give me some Evan Turner money and we'll call it even, man. Let me just get a slice of that man's bread. I ain't asking for the whole loaf. Just give me a little slice. If I look like the man this much, this bad, give me a little slice of that man's bread. That's all I'm asking for. Sherlock Homeboy says, if the Cowboys lose the divisional round, the playoffs will go through us. Book it. We'll see. We will see. If they do, and you get the number 2 seed, which I assume the Seattle Seahawks will, then yes, you're right. It would de facto move to the Seattle Seahawks being in that position. And nobody wants that because it's a tough place to play. Argenis Luguardo says, man, if only this defense had the 2011 Eli Manning, this would be a scary team if they had that going right now for him. RG3 hashtag smoking that 3 hashtag talent says, all I want for Christmas is my Browns to get a W. Some of us fans will, and then he's got a, you see what's going on there. He's got a little pop to the head. Hey, look, man, don't do that. Because I don't want you to set yourself up to have to blow your brains out, man. Don't do that. T. Little says, my bad, bro. I was asking, you think they'll clinch? Should have specified. It's all good, man. It's all good. Sean Mack says, damn right, I would. LOL. Still a baby bitch, though. I hear you, man, but you would take him on your squad, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. I hear you, though. Ed says, do you think my Miami Dolphins can win Sunday against the Buffalo Bills? Absolutely they can. That's family business. You know how that goes. If those two teams that ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business, man. Nobody knows family better than family. Of course you can go to Buffalo and win. Will you? I don't think you will. But yeah. And you know how I feel about Matt Moore. If you don't, I talked about it all last week. Go watch the videos. Go back in the archive and check what I said about Matt Moore. This team can definitely go to Buffalo and win. They're going to need to establish the run, though. They're going to need to establish the run. They're going to need to stop the run. If they can stop Buffalo from running, they're going to win. If they don't turn it over and they stop Buffalo from running, they're going to win. Tyrod Taylor can't beat anybody by himself. But if you let Shady McCoy go off for $127 and 2 touchdowns, you're going to lose in Buffalo. If you let that defense rattle the cage of your quarterback, you're going to lose in Buffalo. You can't turn it over. You got to stop the run, and you got to allow Matt Moore to manage the game, not have to go over there and win it. If you can get the run game going with Jay Ajayi, if you can stop their run game, because that's what they want to do. They're one of the best running teams in the league. You stop them from running. You force Tyrod Taylor to beat you, and you don't turn it over yourself. You got a great shot of going into Orchard Park and coming away with a W. Mario Manningham. Thank you, T. Littles. Mario Manningham is his name. I could not think of his name. Knew the jersey number, knew the face. I just couldn't think of the name. He makes that throw to him. He's got some legendary Super Bowl wins and some big plays in those games to stamp that. Eli Manning is going to the Hall of Fame. Argenis Luguardo says, how good can this defense be if we drafted a very good Mike linebacker, Sean Lee and Kuechly type? It could be outstanding. Really, I think the Cowboys really need a dominant pass rusher. You get a dominant pass rusher on that defense, it changes things. The best defenses in the league have dominant rushers. Even the Giants, who don't have a guy that knocks your socks off, they got guys that constantly get to the quarterback, though. Olivier Vernon is back there a ton. May not be getting a bunch of sacks, but he's back there a ton harassing the quarterback. Just like they talked about with Brandon Graham tonight. Doesn't get a ton of sacks, never had more than 6.5 in his career. But look how many times he was back there tonight harassing Eli Manning. Sometimes it's not the sacks, but the pressures too that add up and really help guys be dominant football players. Let's get to some more comments. T. Little says, Giants need to add a running back or receiver in the draft. And they will. I'm pretty sure of that. British Alexander says, given the current playoff picture, who do you have in the conference championship? I think my guy Rodgers will get us back to the Super Bowl. # the belt. Nobody wants the Packers in the playoffs. And that's the reason why. Because Aaron Rodgers is starting to get hot. He's heating up, and they're getting hot at the right time. I still have questions about that Packers defense. They were up 17 in Chicago, blew that lead, it evaporated, and Rodgers had to bail them out. I still have questions about that defense, but I'm going to tell you what, nobody wants to see Aaron Rodgers. Nobody wants to go to Lambeau, and obviously, if the Packers are going to do damage, they're going to have to go on the road at some point because the number 1 and 2 seeds in my mind are locked up already in the NFC, and the Packers can't get to the 1 or the 2 anyway, so they're going to have to go on the road at some point if they want to do damage. But bottom line is, no one wants a part of Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. That's a fact. No one wants any part of that man, and if he can heal up the calf and if he can get right before the playoffs start, and it's going to be hard because he has to play, but they ran the football. And that's not something we're accustomed to seeing the Packers do with great effectiveness, but they ran it well against Chicago. And that's not a bum Chicago Bears defense that they ran all over in that game. Ty Montgomery looked like a stud. If they can get that kind of production, they sprinkled in a little bit of Christian Michael in that game as well. They can get a run game going to allow Aaron Rodgers to not have to strain that calf. Look out for the Green Bay Packers down the stretch. Moving right along, J.P. Lavecchio says, I'm scared of the Cowboys linebacker core. When their draft picks get healthy, you scared, bro? It could be Jalen Smith, Sean Lee. It could be. I mean, they got some stuff. I actually think Anthony Hitchens is really good too. So, yes, that could be a scary group when it's all said and done. We'll see what happens, though. Anthony Hibbert says, Sean Lee is absolutely far from a bum. Whoever said that, come on. They got to be trolling. Sean Lee, like you said, the furthest thing from a bum. Don't pay that guy any mind. Blackbird Blitz says, we really want to see you over the holidays and throughout the playoffs. Real talk. If you're talking about me or you're talking about the Cowboys, I don't really know there, but keep it moving. T. Little says, Jalen Smith getting healthy. # keep watch. I just said Jalen Smith. If he ever gets right, that guy's an animal. Sean Mack says, I picked 4 upsets this week. # family business late in the season means anything can happen, bro. You are absolutely 110% right there, Sean Mack. Sean Mack also says, Merry Christmas, bro. Have you a wonderful holiday season as well to all of you out there. And that is the final comment. I thank you guys for watching again tonight. Eagles get it done 24-19 over the New York Giants, stopping them from clinching a playoff berth tonight. Giants still going to get in by my calculations, whether it's via a Buccaneers loss on Saturday, or they win in Week 17, or the Buccaneers lose in Week 17. It doesn't matter. Someone's going to lose at some point that will give them an opportunity. That team could be the Green Bay Packers losing to the Minnesota Vikings and dropping them to 8-7 and not giving them a chance to get to 10 wins. In any event, this Giants team is making the playoffs. Mark my words, they're going to get in. And so this is just delaying the inevitable. But what this loss did do is it allowed the Cowboys to clinch not only the NFC East, but the number 1 seed in the NFC conference. So that did hurt the Giants there. But Cowboys were going to do that, in my mind, anyway, come Monday night versus Detroit. They were going to do all those things on their own. Now they don't have to worry about that. So Eagles, show up big, get a win, get to 6-9, and go into the final week of the season with a little bit of momentum, which is what you want to do when you know you're not going to make the playoffs. Start building for the future and start instilling confidence in this football team. And that's what they did with this win. Giants dropped to 10-5. Everything they want is still in front of them outside of the division. Everything is still in front of them, including a playoff berth, which I think is still going to happen for them in Week 16. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room on the Louie Tee Network on Thursday Night Football Overtime. Eagles get the upset win over the Giants 24-19. Giants failed to clinch the playoff berth tonight, but I think they're still going to get one before this week is done. We will see. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, I've already said that. But remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I will see you guys next time. Enjoy all of the festivities. We'll be back on Saturday. I'll be back in front of you on Saturday. We got plenty of football to talk about and discuss. But until then, enjoy the festivities. Last minute shopping. Do what you got to do. Get it done. Time's ticking. I'll see you guys on Saturday. Have a good one.
Broncos won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning retired. 49ers won 5 games and Tom Sula got fired. RG's in Cleveland and my Rams hit the West Coast. Be sleepless in Seattle cause that 12-man ain't beast mode. Oh yeah, I knew it was something I forgot to mention. Yeah, old Tom Brady about to get that suspension. Yeah, I know the Pats fans probably think that's whack. Yeah, but that